So thank you guys for joining. I know that these are exciting times. All of your, you're getting accepted, you're getting those letters, you're making those hard decisions, trying to figure out what makes sense for you and where you want to be this year. And so I want to go over the different options that you have to finance your legal education. So financing your education, whether it's at BLS or any law school you go to, there are a lot of considerations that you want to take into consideration. You want to take into account no matter where you decide to enroll. And, a lot of people are looking at the cost in terms of tuition and fees, and you're looking at the different scholarship offers that you might have from different institutions. But something that we like to stress, all financial aid administrators, and what we do is we like to talk about all of the expenses aside from just the tuition that you might consider as you're making these big decisions and next steps and what you want to do, whether you're going on to get a law degree or a master's degree, and what you're looking to to get out of your education. So there are lots of different factors to consider aside from tuition. So this is a phrase we use a lot in the financial aid world, and we call it the cost of attendance. And like I said, most students are looking at that tuition cost. I've got the JD tuition up. You can see the master's and LLM tuition based on 30 credits. And then you've got your administration fees and the student bar fee that you get charged each year. So those are what we call direct costs. Those are costs that get billed to you that you would need to cover either through scholarship aid, student loans, and I'll go through all of those different options in a minute. And then the other costs that we look at are called indirect costs. Now, indirect costs are those expenses that are largely influenced by you, by your individual needs. You're not going to get billed these directly by Vermont Law School, but they're those expenses that are going to come up as you're pursuing your law degree. And so these indirect costs are based on, this is what our cost of attendance is at Vermont Law School, and they're based on 9 months of living expenses. And we come up with this usually by doing surveys that we send out to students and looking at what students are reporting that they're paying for rent and what they're paying for food and utilities and all those, fun adult things that you get to do once you're out of undergrad, once you're on your own, once you're, finding your own place. All these different things that are going to come up that you can use financial aid to pay for. So this is the maximum amount that we allow for students, but certainly those expenses are really up to you and how much you want to spend as you navigate your way through law school. Here's a monthly breakdown. I find that this makes it a little bit easier for students to digest when you're looking at the total cost of attendance. And this is what we allow when we're talking to students. Rent, or some students even find themselves a mortgage, what we allow for all these different areas: heat, electric, once again, fun adult things. And so the monthly total, what it averages out to when you look at our cost of attendance, is just about $2,700 a month. Now, we're not saying that it's going to cost you $2,700 a month to live in South Royalton. What we're saying is that we know that life happens and you might have unexpected expenses that come up. So you have that available to you. But we find that students can live comfortably off of about $1,700 a month living in South Royalton. Rent can be anywhere between $700 to $1,000 a month. You might choose to get a roommate to help offset some of these expenses. And, you're always going to have those unexpected things pop up in life like they do. And financial aid is there to help you with that. Like, a lot of students are surprised about the idea of winter tires. That is a thing that you will need if you move to Vermont, and they do cost that extra amount of money. So these are the things that you can use financial aid for to help make it so that you can afford to live comfortably while you're in Vermont. So what are those financial aid options that are available to you? Well, the first thing that you're going to be looking into that most of you have probably already seen, if you've been accepted at this point, would be any kind of merit scholarship that you would qualify for. And just to be clear too, there are two kinds of financial aid that we break it into in my office when you're looking at financial aid. There's institutional aid, which is money that the school awards, and it's up to the law school to determine how we award it. And then there's the federal aid. So merit scholarships fall into that category of institutional aid. And that is awarded through the admissions office. And the financial aid office gets that notification and are told, okay, so-and-so has been awarded this scholarship, and we'll go ahead and put that in your financial aid award. And that will get, so I'll go into more about how that gets applied later. There's also grant aid, need-based grant aid, and outside scholarships. So that's the free money too. That's the money that you don't have to pay back, that just gets applied to your account and you're not liable to have to pay that back. Then in terms of the federal programs that you would apply for, there's work study, and then there's also the direct federal loans. So I'll go more in detail on those programs in just a minute. And so now we're going to talk about scholarships. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into how these work. Like I said, they're handled by admissions. We get notified, and admissions is reviewing your application, looking at your LSAT score and your GPA, and using that information to determine what kind of merit aid you might qualify for. There's also the timing of, when you applied and what funding we might have available in order to award those scholarships to you. We have some students who come to us with outside scholarships. Maybe you have some AmeriCorps money from work that you've done, and that can certainly be applied to offset your expenses as well. And these scholarship programs are applied against tuition. So we're talking about those direct costs and then the indirect costs. The merit scholarship gets applied to help offset the cost of tuition. It's not going to go towards any of those indirect expenses. We also offer need-based grants to students. And these grants we reserve those for students whose merit scholarship covers less than 40% of tuition for our JD students. And for master students, if your scholarship covers less than 30% of tuition, you might qualify for those grants as well. And in order to qualify for the need-based grants, you need to indicate through the financial aid portal, which I'll go through with you later, that you're interested in applying for need-based grants. If you see that your scholarship covers, less than the 40 or 30%, then you could apply. And the other thing you need to do is to do your FAFSA, your free application for federal student aid. So that's kind of my segue into talking about how to apply for those, also for those federal programs. So for those of you who haven't done it yet, you go to fasfa.ed.gov. And it's, the nice thing, unlike when you were in undergrad, is that you no longer need to report your parents' information on the FAFSA. So no more trying to get them to send you copies of W-2s and tax information and coordinate with mom and dad to figure out who's going to, send the PIN and who has to sign what. This is all on you now, and you can log in and just report your information from 2 years ago, what you filed for taxes, and you'll find, and that's how you're going to qualify for the federal programs. So long as you meet the basic eligibility criteria. So here we've outlined the different criteria. So as long as you meet this criteria, you'll be fine to qualify for federal loans and for work study. There is some criteria that to qualify for the Grad Plus loan, and I'll go into more detail as we start dissecting those loan programs. But overall, as long as you meet this basic eligibility criteria, you'll be all set to qualify for those federal loan programs. So work study. Before I dive into the loan programs, I wanted to quickly go over the federal work study program. So if you do that FAFSA, you meet the criteria, And our policy is that we are prioritizing work study money to go to students who are borrowing unsubsidized federal loans at minimum. Because the goal of the work study program is to help offset the loan debt. So we're trying to target it and give it to students who are already borrowing large amount of loan money so they don't have to borrow so much. So if you're borrowing unsubsidized federal loans and you've done the FAFSA, we will allow you to do work study, which is a really great program because you can, we have the library that's usually hiring research assistants, the fitness center. A lot of these offices are looking for work study help, which is really great. We typically don't let 1L students apply for work study jobs, however, because we want you to sleep. It's a lot, your first semester is going to be quite taxing on you. You're going to be adjusting. So we kind of reserve the work study for students who are in their second or third years, and also for their master's students. They can do work study as well. Now, we do allow some 1L students to do some jobs like being a note taker. So if you're in class anyways and you want to earn money to take notes for students who can't, that's available. Also, if after your first semester you're feeling like you have a pretty solid footing and you're feeling you've got a good GPA above a 3.0 and you're ready to take on some work, then you can appeal and we'll see what work study money we can offer you. And I do want to also point out that we offer fellowships in the summer, which is great. And that comes out of our work study program. And those fellowships, students are applying or have been applying in the spring. And that way you can look for those unpaid internship opportunities and be able to pay for living expenses while you're having that great experience in DC or New York or wherever your internship might take you, and then be able to access work study money to help pay for those expenses. The direct loan program. So once you've looked at all your scholarship money and you figured out, you know, what you're going to owe after scholarships are applied, you have the ability to take out either of these loans. So there's the direct unsubsidized loan, and maybe some of you have already taken that out in undergrad. It has there are a couple little differences between undergrad and graduate level unsubsidized loan. You have to be enrolled at least half time. The interest rates hovering around 6% for now. And the difference, the big difference with this compared to undergrad is that you can take out $20,500 annually to help offset any of those expenses. So typically students use it to help pay for tuition and fees. If their scholarship is less than $30,000 a year, then you could use this loan to help offset those expenses and pay for your tuition. And that one, it's great. It doesn't have any credit requirement like the Grad Plus loan does. So that's the difference here is the direct Grad Plus loan requires you can't have adverse credit. It's fine if you have no credit or if your credit's not great. You just can't have adverse credit. No bankruptcies. You can't be in collections. You certainly, I will say, if you're defaulted on any of your student loans, that will prevent you from being able to access either of the loan programs. So these are things to start thinking about now. If you've been getting those letters and ignoring them, just check on the status of your undergrad loans or any, pull your credit to see where you're at to make sure that if you plan on using this Grad Plus loan, that you won't have any issues accessing it once you start. So there's the Grad Plus loan limit is that you can borrow up to that cost of attendance. So going back to what I was describing before in terms of the cost of attendance and what the maximum amount is, that's what you have available in Grad Plus. So I'm going to go through an example award with you just to give you an idea of what it might look like. So this is a JD student, and let's say that student has this, has their tuition and fees, and they're going to get a $20,000 scholarship. So after we apply that scholarship, the total amount due becomes, just around $29,000 that's left. So what are they going to use if they have if they're not going to be paying out of pocket for it, they don't have any access to any other scholarships or grant funding, is that they would apply for that unsubsidized loan. You'll notice that I put in $20,284, which is less than the $20,500. maximum, that's because there's an origination fee of just about 1% that comes off of that loan. So after the fees are applied, and we don't keep those fees, that's Department of Education, they apply those fees. You'll see the 20,284. So that means that even after you've applied your scholarship and you use that unsubsidized loan, just with tuition and fees alone, you're still going to owe around $9,000 that you would need covered. That's where the Grad Plus comes in handy. And this is, roughly what would be available based on our cost of attendance. So $36,000 available to cover that $9,000 that's due, and also to use towards living expense money. So once we've done your award, you got your award, you're going to get a notification from you. You realize that you've got all this money available and you're ready to make your commitment and confirm your award with us. Maybe some of you have already gotten this email from us. This is what you're going to see from our office, and it gives you a link to our webpage that we have, our portal. And within this, it will give you instructions on how to set up your account. When you set it up and you set this, the forgot your password, just, make sure you're using security questions you're going to remember, because you might get yourself locked out of your account is all. So you're just going to want to be, write that down. We can always help you and reset your password or help you if you get locked out. But you're also going to be prompted to answer security questions based on your FAFSA application. So if something's changed on your like if you're just carrying over FAFSA information from like years ago when you're an undergrad and your address has changed, but you never updated the FAFSA, or there are different parts of the, application that you never updated when you did it, then it could prevent you from being able to set up your account. Something to keep in mind. Once you're logged in, this is kind of what you see. It's just, welcome, and here's our system, and here are some quick links. Like I said, you'll see the getting pre-approved for the Grad Plus loan. It's pretty simple. You can click on that and it will let you know if there's any, issues with your credit that you might want to have checked out before you start committing to going anywhere. Completing your master promissory notes and counseling, all of these things you need to do to finalize your federal loans so that we can get them dispersed and on your account. Once you're logged into, there's a menu at the top left of the page, and you'll see all these different options. You can accept your awards. You can review the budget, that cost of attendance that I was talking about. You can look at the final steps, which is showing you what you haven't done yet. Have you done your promissory notes? Did you do your entrance counseling? There are loan repayment resources. It will show you disbursements and timing and when it's going to hit your account. So you have a lot that you can look up and kind of take control of your financial aid using this system, so long as you go in and look through it. And we're happy to help you find this information or get you set up to help you navigate it. And it's something that you'll use, especially JD students who have to do a FAFSA every year, that you'll be using this every year to accept your award. You do the FAFSA, and it will cover from fall to summer. And then you have to do a new FAFSA again every year. And we'll send a reminder to students every time that it's time to do your FAFSA. This is kind of, I don't know if you could see this pretty well. This is an example. In this case, someone got a $5,000 scholarship. There's that unsubsidized loan and the Grad Plus loan. They're marked as, pending because we're waiting for the student to accept them. Now, if you see this award and you're like, I actually don't want to take out that much in a Grad Plus loan. That's a little bit excessive. I don't need that much. You can reach out to the financial aid office, to Melissa. We have our FinAid at vermontlaw.edu, which there'll be a link to at the end of this. And you can just shoot us an email and just say like, actually, I only need $10,000 a year to live off of. I did a lot of saving and I'm feeling really secure with the funding I have, and we'll make that happen for you. And so at that point, you can go ahead and accept right through here. You can decline all, you can accept all, and you just hit submit, and then you should be good to go. So the financial aid office and the billing or the business office, we're not We work closely together. We're not the same office. The financial aid office does all of the processing of the federal loans and making sure scholarships get applied to accounts. And then the business office are the ones who are charging you. So they're the ones applying charges to your account, and we're the ones coordinating all of your financial aid to be applied to your account. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you had a question about paying a bill because you're not using financial aid, that's when you'd reach out to the business office. Payment is due 7 days before classes. So for students who use financial aid, have everything all set, as long as you have your loan, your promissory notes, you've done your Grad Plus credit check, and you're good to go, then your bill's considered, cleared, and your payment is considered all cleared as well. Loan disbursements are going to happen the week before class starts. For students who need that living expense money, your refunds are going to be available during the first week of class, and you're going to get a refund per semester. So we disperse half, you're going to accept a whole year's worth of financial aid, but we break it into, 2 chunks, the fall, the spring, and then if you're doing the summer, we would do that as well. And so you're going to get living expense money at the beginning of the semester. And it's your job to make sure you budget accordingly and only spend what you need to spend. And then come January, you'll get another disbursement and another refund. We highly encourage students to set up direct deposit, so that way it can go right into your bank account. You don't have to get a physical check. Checks are available as well. And so you'll get all of that information sent to you as we get closer to the start of the semester about how to coordinate that. And another note about the book vouchers, for those of you, if you're planning on starting this summer, just want to throw in a reminder that the book vouchers are due on the 15th of May. So May 15th, book vouchers, you got to have those in. So for those of you who want to know what a book voucher is, because you're not going to get those refund checks for living expenses until the first week of class, well, a lot of students would like to have their books before class starts so they can be prepared. Just know that they have everything they need if there are assignments that are due during that first week. So if you don't want to have to pay out of pocket during or wait to get that money, then you can get a book voucher to help pay for the books. And so those will be available, and you'll get notified about the due dates for getting those in. So that you can have those set up, and then it'll go right to the bookstore, Barrister's bookstore, and they'll get you on a list, and they're really great too about, even if you have all of your course information, they'll pull the books together for you, make sure you have everything you need all in a bundle, and it's pretty seamless so long as you get your book voucher in on time. So finally, the part that people don't like to think about or talk about, but it's important to start thinking about even now, is loan repayment. So you figured out each year like how much you're going to borrow. Like you got $20,500 in unsubsidized loan. Then whatever you borrow in Grad Plus the first year, take that for the JD students, multiply that by 3 if you're a traditional student. Just figure out what is it that you're going to end up owing at the end of all of this. And there are some really great resources, and our office is happy to help you access those resources. Google searches work really well too. Studentaid.gov is a great resource. They have all these calculators where you can take what you think you're going to end up owing at the end of this, plus any undergraduate loans you might have. And you can put that in a calculator, and it will tell you all of your repayment options. And it's actually very calming. When you're looking at the average law school debt, like nationwide, it's about $150,000 for law school debt. That's normal. That's like an average amount that most students borrow, and that feels really daunting. But when you use this tool and you put it in and you can see the different repayment options that are available, you realize that, especially with income-based repayment plans, they're going to take a percentage of your discretionary income, and that will be your monthly payment. So in theory, if you budget accordingly and plan accordingly, and that's what our office is also going to help you do throughout law school, in theory, you should be able to afford your monthly loan repayment. So it shouldn't be too terrifying when you're looking at debt numbers and what you might owe and what your options are, that there's always the income-based repayment plan that will make sure that you can afford your payments. That kind of segues into public service loan forgiveness. A lot of our students end up going into public service work, public interest, and that can mean a lot of things. Essentially, the way the public service loan forgiveness, I'm going to really just kind of do a simplified version, and we offer lots of sessions and counseling about this that goes more in depth about public service loan forgiveness. But essentially, if you work for a 501c3, like a nonprofit organization, and you work there for 10 years and you make consecutive monthly on-time payments, after 10 years of doing that in an income-based repayment plan, any amount that you have not paid off at the end of 10 years gets forgiven. It's a tax-free event. You get all of that written off. And so it's a really great option. In light of everything that's going on right now and everything I'm hearing from all of the different associations I follow, I don't see that program going anywhere anytime soon. It's not something to, don't just like bank on it, but it's a great program that definitely helps too. So if you're thinking about the different kind of work you might want to do or how long it's going to take, for you to pay off your loans, that is an option. I also want to talk about, for those of you who have undergraduate loans that are currently in repayment, or in grace period or wherever you're at with them, that they will get deferred while you're enrolled in school, whether the JD or master's program. We will report once you're registered, and we will report your enrollment status to the National Student Clearinghouse database. They'll show that you're actively enrolled and you should go into a deferment status. You'll be able to defer it because you're in school. Our registrar's office often will fill out paperwork for students so that you can send it to your lender sooner rather than later, and they can verify that you're actively enrolled, and your payments will be put on hold. Certainly doesn't mean you can't make payments. If you want to, you certainly can, and you should make any payments, but it is something that you won't have to worry about as long as you're enrolled at least half time, which is at least 5 credits JD students have to take 10 credits, so you'll be fine. Master students, you've got to be enrolled in at least 3 credits, and then you'll be able to have those loans deferred. So I just threw a lot of information out. I didn't have the chat up the whole time. So I guess now's the time that if there are any questions or concerns, I went ahead and put my information and Katie's information. So for people who want to reach out to us with any questions, we are available. But otherwise, Melissa or Simon, I didn't see if there were any other questions I should be taking care of at this point, but.
Hi, Melody.
Hi.
So I was wondering if you could kind of offer some advice of how to prepare financially for coming to law school, some healthy habits that you would suggest. One that comes to mind is remember, this thought came to me when you were discussing when the refund check is issued, so that students know to maybe come a little prepared with some bumper.
Exactly, right. Because here's the thing, and thank you for bringing that up, Katie, too. And we've seen it happen with students is, especially if you're finishing up undergrad or you're just kind of preparing, there's just 3 months that happens in between when you start and maybe when you finish undergrad, or just generally like moving. Like moving can be expensive, trying to relocate somewhere, get those security deposits for apartments. And so I would say now's a really great time to start thinking about saving money. Luckily, I don't think any of us are going out a lot of places, so that's somewhere to save money. Saving that money now can make a really big difference. And figuring out what you're going to need. Start a budget too. Like right now, I know I hate to do it myself. It's really hard to sit down with a worksheet and figure out, where are you spending your money now? Where can you cut back now already? Like, do you need to have Spotify and Apple Music and Hulu and Netflix? Or is there like a streaming service you could get rid of? Where can you make those adjustments so that you can start saving? Other things to consider too, we don't have like what I would call, I'm not even gonna say like robust public transportation. We don't have public transportation. So you know, the expenses of owning a car, operating one. Are you ready for that? Do you have everything in line? Um, you know, do you have family support that you know, they can maybe help you out at least with the move and getting things here, move, all of those kinds of things that I think really sitting down with a budget now is a great way to get prepared and practice for when you do get that big. It's like sometimes we had students come in and they'd get a big check, like a check for $10,000 to live off of for the semester, and it seems like so much until you start going to Worthy Burger every other day and you realize how quickly $10,000, and like with rent and heat and just, you know, existing and living on your own, it can get expensive. So really work out a budget now is what I would say. Yeah, I see Melissa's answering some really great questions too here. So, um, you know, borrowing too much, like she said, you can, if you, we can always send money back. You can always request less money in the future if you realize that you borrowed way more than you needed. It's easy enough to pay down your loans, to send it back. I don't know. Any other questions or concerns? Um, you know, we're here, the financial aid office is here if you had any questions about any of your financial aid offers from anywhere. Like, there's a lot to consider when you see a financial aid award and understanding the cost of attendance. And some people will get our award letters and be overwhelmed. They're like, you know, $75,000. I didn't think you were that expensive. Well, we're not that expensive. It's just, you know, that's the cost of attendance. It's really, you know, we want to put it back on you to say, like, how inexpensive can you make it? Like, what can you do? How much do you love ramen? You will soon. Like, that's, those are the different things you can start working on. Mm, um, federal loan fee, are federal loan fees standard or percentage? They're just a set rate. The federal loan fees are a set rate that the Department of Ed sets it every year after Congress approves the budget. So we'll see what the loan fees end up being too, with everything being how it is now. I'm not worried about loan fees going up right now, so that's a good thing. So if anyone else like has any other questions, I think we provided some of the links. Do your FAFSAs, they're free. So there's no obligation. You can do a FAFSA now, even if you decide not to come to VLS, you know, hopefully you do, but if you didn't, it's not like you're obligated. So you can do the FAFSA, we'll put the loans in place. And if it ends up not working out or you need to defer, you can't take them out, we'll just cancel them. There's, you know, nothing set in stone. So it's always good to just do that FAFSA so you know what your options are.
Melody, I
Yeah.
think we have some questions in the Q&A too.
Oh, okay. I'm missing the Q&A. That's what it is.
Yeah, I know. So,
The Q&A went away. Oops.
yeah, so are there any financial aid options or scholarships specific to the online MELP program? And I know that there are financial aid options, correct, Melody?
Yeah, let me open up the Q&A so I can read it. Now I see it. Are there any financial aid options or scholarships with online? We do have some scholarships for our online programs. And there's a process to apply. You know, through the application process, you can indicate if you want to apply for the scholarship, and we review those. And I think it ends up being, oh gosh, like it's like $1,500 scholarships for the online programs is overall over the course of the program. But financial aid options other than scholarships, you can use loans for the online program as well.
Yeah, and for our online students, they should contact their counselor because they'll
Yes.
have more information about the scholarships.
Yeah, but definitely there are loans for sure to cover. So if, you know, scholarships, yes, and also loans that will help cover that as well.
And Melody or Mel, the next one is, do you take out enough to cover for summer plans?
So if you wanted to, this is once you're here, like if you're here for the fall and spring, and then you have these plans for the summer, but you won't be enrolled, you can't take out loan money and save it and use that to help pay for your summer expenses. So whatever those are. So if you're not going to apply for, any of the fellowships, or you just want a little more, you can certainly use the loan money and save it, so that you can finance any summer plans you might have. I do see too, so now I have the Q&A open, and so when do the book vouchers need to be paid back by, and how can we request them? There'll be information about the book vouchers coming, like those will get emailed to students once they've deposited. But book vouchers, the way book vouchers work are, if you're using federal student loans and you've applied for them and they're on your account and ready to disperse, then, and you do the book voucher will be applied almost as a charge on your account, kind of like the tuition and fees. And you'll see the book voucher as a charge. So it's an advance on your loans is what it is. So when you get your refund that next week from your living expenses, it will be the refund minus that voucher, if that makes sense. Excuse me.
Great.
All right.
Mel, thank you.
My
Any
pleasure.
questions? And don't worry, right? You can pay these
That's
loans.
right.
Yeah, Mel, will you give them a little bit of, this is a lot of money to borrow.
But, it's a return. You have to look on the return on investment, right? You're investing this money into your future, into what you want to be doing with your life. And so you have to figure out if what you're borrowing and how much, not just money that you'll be earning, but also, quality of life and what you want to be doing, what you're passionate about. And excuse me, I've got a tickle. And so I think it's really worth it to look at what that value is to you, and knowing that it's manageable, you'll be able to pay it off. I mean, you look at homes and mortgages and what people buy, there's always a return on investment. So I think that's something that people need to consider, is what will this degree bring to my life, not just financially, but for my overall happiness.
That was very good. That was good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mel,
Sure.
for assisting everyone. And hello to all our admitted students. Sorry, I'm the chatter of the groups. Well, thank you all. And Mel, thank you very much.
Sure thing. All right. Thank you everyone for coming.